This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
So what the Browns are going to try to do today is they're going to try to upset the Green Bay Packers. Not a lot of people think this is a game that the Cleveland Browns are going to win. Not a lot of people in Green Bay think that this game's a threat. Not a lot of people in Cleveland think that this game's worthwhile. I've been covering this team a long time. I know when games have juice. I know when games don't have juice. This is one of those weeks where the game don't really got that much juice in Cleveland. There's not really a belief that the Browns could win this game. Now, ironically enough, the last time I felt like the fan base was this down about a team this early was 2023 when they were going in to play P.J. Walker against the San Francisco 49ers, who at that point were consistent world beaters. I believe they were in the Super Bowl the year prior, right? This isn't like, oh, they've had a couple of down years, San Francisco 49ers. No, this is like in the middle of San Francisco's big run with Brock Purdy, or at least the first big run. We'll see if they get a second big run. But I remember people being pretty down about that game. Now, it's important to remember, right, that not every week, every NFL team plays their best. Another thing that's important to remember, and I say this all the time, whether the team's good or not, in the NFL, there is one constant. You're never as good as you think you are, and you're never as bad as you think you are. It's just that simple. The Bills could lose to somebody random. The Miami Dolphins could beat somebody random. The NFL has too much talent on every given team for the gap to be that wide, right? It's not like college where Ohio State plays Akron, and it's like no contest. In no world was Akron going to beat them, right? Or when they bring up Grambling State or FCS school. The talent differences aren't that crazy in the NFL like in college. Sometimes we think about it like it's college football, but that's not the reality of it. You're never as good as you think you are in the NFL. You're never as bad as you think you are. We've watched this with the Cleveland Browns. I told you an example of when the Browns most certainly weren't as bad as the city thought that they were going to be that year. P.J. Walker goes in, beats the San Francisco 49ers. That same season, the Browns looked terrible against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. You're never as good as you think you are. You're never as bad as you think you are. You're never really far away from losing to one of the worst 5 teams in the league, and you're never really far away from beating one of the best 5 teams in the league. That's just what it is. That's the reality of the NFL. You have a shot any given Sunday. It's not just the name of a movie. It's not just something people say. It's a phrase for a reason, because that phrase offers constant validation over the course of a season, because we see that any given Sunday, anybody can lose, because that's the reality. Again, you're never as good as you think you are, and you're certainly never as bad as you think you are. Now, I want to talk about how the Browns can upset the Green Bay Packers, but before I get into that, I want to talk about some picks that I got going into this game that we're going to follow on the live stream via Sleeper. So let's jump into that. All right, I got my sleeper picks for this week. Real excited to bring these to you guys. So first thing on this pick that I think is going to happen in this game, I've done this before. It was successful week 1. We'll see if it's successful in week 3. I do think Jerry Jeudy is going to get more receptions this week. The Browns are going to have to get this offense going. He was very underutilized last week versus the Baltimore Ravens. I think they're going to make it a point of emphasis at the beginning of this game to get him the ball. They have him at 4.5. I think he'll be over 4.5 receptions for this week. Quincy Judkins is a new name to this contest. And they have Quincy, the line, well, the guess is for him is 42.5 rushing yards. I think Quincy's going to have a good day. He broke that big runoff. I think he's going to be much more comfortable running the ball after what happened in week 2, where he just got used to taking contact, right? He's already been hit by Roquan Smith. Everything else that's going to happen to him is going to feel like a lot more light to him. So I think he's going to get a heavy workload. I think the run game's going to look slightly better this week. I don't know if they're going to look good enough to win, but I think they're going to look slightly better. Quincy Judkins, more than 42 yards. I think that's going to happen. Jordan Love, I have the Browns getting more than an interception on him. They don't think he's going to throw an interception. I think they're wrong on that. Jordan Love puts the ball in danger a lot, especially when he's pressured. I don't think he's played a defensive line that could pressure the Cleveland Browns like that. And they've been preaching it all week. Turnovers. The Browns are going to look to be opportunistic this week because they still have not registered a turnover for as much pressure as they've been creating. I think this week they get the pressure. And then Harold Fannin, I think he's going to be utilized a ton. We talked about it in my Q&A video. Harold Fannin, 34 yards. I think he'll be more than 34 yards. Those are my picks. We're going to follow them. And if you want to join in the fun, right, on Sleeper, make sure you use my promo code WORSTTAKE. Get a 100% match on up to $100 when you use promo code WORSTTAKE. Again, up to, not up to, but 100% match on up to $100 when you use the promo code WORSTTAKE. Thank you for Sleeper for sponsoring this video. Let's get on with it. All right, so the Browns want to pull off this upset. Number one thing they have to do, I talked about this in the video I released on Saturday, turnovers. They got to get turnovers. There is no way around it. Turnovers are key. They need them. They must get them. If they don't get turnovers, they're putting themselves in a situation where they are very, very likely to lose the football game. They need turnovers this week. I understand that we have been asking far too much from this defense. But that's the job. The offense, no disrespect, has Joe Flacco, who's 40, David Njoku, who's solid, Jerry Jeudy, who's really good, and some rookies. The defense has 2 players who are the best at their position, 1 player who might be the best at his position of all time in Myles Garrett. The axe is going to be heavier for the defense. It's one thing to get a bunch of 3 and outs. That's cool. I need the turnovers. This offense needs the extra possessions. They need the turnovers. They got to get the turnovers. So that's number one. The Browns must get turnovers this week to beat the Green Bay Packers. Now, why else do I think that this could be a trap game for the Green Bay Packers, that this could be a game that the Packers could slip up on? And again, just because there are some trap game elements here does not mean that the Green Bay Packers won't show up to this game. Just because I think that there could be some trap game elements here doesn't mean that the Browns are going to do what's needed to win these games. It's more than just, hey, are those elements there? But there are some real trap game elements heading into this game Sunday. It's a huge game to overlook if you're the Packers. It's a road game in Cleveland. It's not very special. I know last week we saw the Baltimore Ravens give one of their best performances of the season. It's only been 2 weeks, but give one of the best performances likely that they're going to have all season. But keep in mind what that game was for the Baltimore Ravens. That was the home opener. They were celebrating 30 years. They brought back every Ravens legend there. It was the return of Joe Flacco. They had Ray Lewis on the sideline. They had the juice that weekend. This is not the same situation for the Green Bay Packers. For the Green Bay Packers, everything that's interesting is ahead of you. It's after this game. Yeah, there's Myles Garrett, and you're not going to overlook Myles Garrett, but that doesn't mean that just because you're not overlooking Myles Garrett, that you're not overlooking the rest of this team, right? Because I think it's natural for the Green Bay Packers to think that. They got that big game. They love Micah Parsons. They want to support Micah Parsons against the Dallas Cowboys. It's a big game in Dallas. I mean, that's going to be the most talked about game the second the Sunday 8 o'clock game goes off the air. Hell, that's such a big game. They're going to spend half the 8 o'clock broadcast talking about how big of a game it is next week for Micah Parsons and the Green Bay Packers. And because that's the case, nobody's going to care what they do in this game. They could win this game, stomp the Browns out by 40. It's not really going to make any statement. They can lose this game, and nobody's really going to care. Nobody's really going to care. This is like the most under-the-radar game they've played. They played, 2 national TV games to start? This will be the first game they played. It's not on national TV. It's actually Sunday at 1 o'clock. There's going to be a natural energy letdown for them. Now, the Browns, on the other hand, well, this is what they're doing all season. They play Sunday, 1 o'clock all year. They got one night game. So they're used to this. They should be used to this. Again, it's a slight thing that can help them out, but it's not everything, right? They still got to make it happen. Another reason why I think this is a bit of an upset warning is this Browns defensive line is legitimately going to be the best line that they played against all season. We saw what Detroit looked like when they played them week 1. We know what the Commanders are on the defensive line. This is a world of difference that the Browns have to offer at them, and it's a different challenge than they faced all season, which can create some unique problems. You know, again, the Browns offense has to show up this week. The Browns run game has to show up this week, and most importantly, the Browns have to get turnovers, but I do think there is a chance that the Browns could win this game. We'll see what happens. I'll be watching it live. If you want to watch it live with me, make sure you stay locked in here, subscribed and notified. Be going live at 1 o'clock on Sunday. That's my thoughts before the game. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.